Welcome, viewers. My guest today is Jenny Blake. Jenny is a speaker and author, and today we're talking about her brand new book, Freetime: Lose the Busy Work, Love Your Business. Welcome, Jenny. So, Jenny, I am so interested to know what prompted you to write Freetime.
Yeah, well, so many things. A lot of these ideas have been bouncing around in my head for almost a decade now. It actually started when I was onboarding a new person. I had this right-hand woman who worked with me in my business, Marisol, for 5 years, and at some point she kind of outgrew it. She was getting ready to start her own business. And as we thought about bringing on a new person, we realized so much was in our head. And we had a Google Doc that we called the manager manual, but in preparation for this new person joining, her name was Stephanie. I started capturing in a Google Doc my operating principles. How did I think? How do I approach business? What's important to me? What should somebody know who's coming in? And little did I know this Google Doc went from one page of principles to 5 pages. Then I taught a workshop on it to my private community. And then as it continued to evolve, I actually turned it into what is now the Free Time book because I realized that so many business owners struggle with being the bottleneck. And we keep so much in our own head or team members' heads about how to run the business that it becomes quite stressful if anybody is out. So, one of the main ways to free time as a verb is to operationalize things and still do it in an easeful, joyful way. Some people are allergic to the word systems, but that's what I'm hoping to help other business owners do is just free their mind, time, and team to do more of their best work.
So, is the audience for this book primarily entrepreneurs?
In a way, I wrote it to them and for them, but any leader, I really genuinely, I know that we're not supposed to say, oh, it's for everybody, but I believe that leaders can benefit so much. And as an owner or as a leader, I think it's helpful to give to team members as well to say, this is how we work. So as long as everyone's willing to be a little bit flexible with the exact nouns that they're reading, they I think that team members as well can understand, oh, this is how to make my manager's job easier, or this is how to express the work that I'm most excited to do, or even for people at the entry level, how to delegate and automate even when you're just starting out, ways to be a little smarter about how you organize the work so that nobody feels burdened or buried by busy work.
So, you talk about the concepts of friction and flow. Can you explain to viewers what you mean by that?
This is the primary diagnostic of the book. It's looking at, and when we think about free time, how do we free more of our time? Where are you currently in flow? What Mihai Csikszentmihalyi describes as a state of near ecstatic bliss where you don't even notice time passing. And where are you in friction? In your role in the company where you dread the work, you're procrastinating, it drains your energy. Anywhere that you spot those friction areas, that's a great opportunity for us to apply the free time framework, align, design, assign, to solve for those friction areas and try to move the needle more toward flow in that area.
So, you also talk about a ratio that you have. And I'd love viewers to hear more about it because your ratio is not only about measuring revenue or profit, but it's also about measuring joy. And that's a very different concept for business owners. So, or for
Yeah,
anybody, even in the corporate world.
right.
So, say
We're
more about that.
Yeah, I mean, we're recording this at tax time and we all have to get our numbers figured out. How much did we earn? How much did we spend? Typical business reporting is the P&L, the profit and loss statements, just, your overall gross earnings, the operating expenses, net revenue, but nowhere are we measuring or talking about time. How much time did it cost to get to those numbers, whether for the leader or the team? And as you said, joy. So what good is it? You hear a lot of people talk about how they run a 7-figure business or 8-figure business, or if you're one of the behemoths, a multi-billion dollar business. Great, but what is the culture like? So it's one thing if you earn 7 figures, but it costs 8 figures to achieve that. But people might not be talking about their expenses. Or what good is it, in my mind? Let's say you earn 7 figures, but you're totally burnt out and exhausted because you and the team are working 100-hour weeks. I'm not interested in that kind of business. I would rather earn less and have a more balanced, healthy that sweet spot, as you described, Susan, of in the book, it's this Venn diagram of revenue, ease, and joy, and looking for those sweet spots as individuals and as an organization. So the time to revenue ratio is about measuring, again, not just the revenue and the profit, but the time it took to get there and to say, can we improve the hours it takes to achieve this revenue?
And what do you mean by ease? Because you talk about that as well.
We all have different superpowers that we bring to work. So it's not that all work is going to be easy all the time, but I do think there's a difference between hard work, capital H, capital W, where everything's a slog and we're miserable, versus hard work, where we feel aligned and on purpose and in flow and working with our best strengths. So, ease is that the work that comes easily and naturally. It's working with a sense of, uh, to continue with the flow metaphor, there's a parable or a Zen saying, don't push the river. That instead of this constant pushing, striving, burning out, how do we go with the flow of what's happening and with our work and do it in a way that is more sustainable and more energizing? So part of that ease is finding where each person is best and then trying to automate the parts that we can, swap work with team members, and delegate the rest so that each person is really operating in what Gay Hendricks calls is your zone of genius, or Dan Sullivan calls your unique ability, whatever words you want to use, that we feel that most of the time at work, we are doing the work that we do best.
So is that where the align and assign framework come in?
Yeah. So the free time framework is a process that first, if you identify a friction area, the align stage is about asking, how does this area align with your energy, your strengths, and your values? Sometimes the align stage surfaces that we shouldn't be doing this anymore at all. It's not aligned, or this person or this client, this stream of income, this project, it's just not aligned with where we're trying to go. But what I find more often is that the reason it's a friction area is that it is important. There are certain values behind it that people that are important. That's why it's not gone altogether. So how do we realign and recalibrate to ensure that it, it we are walking the talk, we are matching the work to our values, strengths, and energy? Then design is about designing and being very intentional and clear. What is the ideal outcome of this area? What is the ideal impact on our target audience? What is the ideal process before anyone tackles the work? What is a smart way to go about designing the process of this project or this area? And then the third stage, assign, who will do what by when, is about the owner or the leader not taking on all the work. And so assign is very intentional that it's an entire stage, which is how can you double what you delegate all the time? Be thinking, what else can I get rid of? How else can I get out of the way? And I tell my team, do not let me be the bottleneck. Keep the work moving. If I don't answer a question, keep going and tell me what you're going to do by when. And if I don't respond, that's on me. But don't let me hold up the process.
You have some amazing statistics in your book about how many hours you work and how many hours you don't work. And I have to say, I was floored when I read them. How did you get to that place?
Well, I use software called Rescue Time that shows me how I spend my time only when the computer's open. And I try not to do too much work on my phone, partly to create my own work life separation. So it's when my laptop is open, Rescue Time is there in the background tracking. I realized that I would rather not have meetings on Mondays or Fridays. I don't schedule meetings before usually 10 a.m. and after 3 p.m. because I'm just not at my best in those windows. So already with my calendar blocking and boundaries around my time, that already helps compress when meetings are their own type of energy versus a podcast recording day or a writing day, a newsletter crafting day. And there's just so many different things I do in my business. I realized that I felt really scattered when I would try to do a little bit of everything every day.
Yeah.
So step one was kind of putting different types of activities on different days. And then what you mentioned, the stats, I work an average of 20 hours a week. When I'm launching a book like right now, it can be more, 25, 30, but that's too much for me, honestly. And then I work about 1,000 hours a year. So a typical full-time job would be at least 2,000 hours. And I say in the book, I don't work full time, I work free time because when I am at my computer, I find that deeply focused hours every day is enough. That I sit down and I don't poke around on social media. I don't procrastinate.
Right.
Once I'm at the computer and I know that it's this compressed window, so I think that sometimes people hear, oh, a 20-hour week, you just must be getting only half the work done. But what I find is that when I'm focused and I can really get in the zone, I do get just as much done. I might not get as many emails written because email could fill every last crack
Sure.
and crevice in
Everybody.
the day and the week. But I am able to get my most strategic work done and still have energy to exercise, see my family, walk the dog, do my reading, because I find all those practices are just as vital for helping me
Absolutely.
show up as my best self.
Absolutely. And actually, research shows, and I don't remember who did the research, but it was tracking concert musicians that you can really only concentrate at your highest level for about 90 minutes at a time before you need a break. I mean, a break can be 5 or 10 minutes, but you can't keep going for 10 hours a day.
Right, and that's what I found when I had a full-time job. I was killing time in some days. I was just, I can't be seen leaving my desk until a certain time,
Right.
or I was in so many back-to-back meetings all day, every day, that I wasn't able to do work. It was as if my role was just to be in meetings all the time. And as a business owner, it's different than working in corporate because we're not getting a salary for that time.
Right.
So
For
I
sure.
find that in corporate, it's a little easier to get away with having a calendar full of meetings. Not that anybody loves that, but you're still getting paid. As a business owner, we need to be so much more strategic in some ways with our time and energy because those aren't billable hours just to cram it all full with meetings.
So in the corporate world, I mean, I don't think it's probably not realistic for somebody to have a full-time job and work 20
Right,
hours.
right.
But how could somebody approximate the kinds of things that you're doing and recommending in free time?
Yeah, it's a great question. One of the things I recommend in free time is blocking off founder time in your calendar. That's what I call it. Even if you work at a company, to adapt a saying from E-Myth Revisited, instead of working in the business, work on the business. Well, instead of working in your career, work on your career. So maybe you're blocking off 2 hours a week or 2 hours a day in the morning that nobody can schedule over. That's your time. So let's say I'm a morning person. So if it's possible, maybe you block off 9 to 11 a.m. And it's not that you're not working, but no one can schedule you for just a random
Mhm.
stakeholder meeting. You're there and you're saying, what is the most strategic work I want to get done this week? And I'm slotting it for you slot it for your best energy windows. And the default of the calendar during those best energy windows is that it's blocked. Of course, if there's an absolutely crucial meeting, you're going to make exceptions, but at least you take a little more control over your calendar instead of everybody else picking at it without realizing. And no one's trying to do this to each other on purpose. But when they don't have those parameters or those boundaries, researchers call it time confetti. Your time is just slivered into all these tiny little pieces because everyone just takes the slot that they can find.
Mhm.
And so that's what I would do if I were in corporate now and I could block off that time. And then let's say your manager asks, yeah, it's exactly so I can make sure I'm doing the most high priority strategic work
Yeah.
that I ensure that it gets done before I'm in meetings the rest of the day.
Unfounded time is such a great name for it because it also says, I'm in control. I'm
Mm,
in charge of my career, no matter where
yes.
I am.
Right. Absolutely. And it's so hectic when you're in the day to day. There's so much going on. We have so many inboxes now. And so that time to say, I I just find when I don't put these boundaries, I get really that's really where my burnout sets in. I feel distracted. My attention, my output is diluted. I'm not my best self. I'm drained. It's like nothing good comes from that time confetti chaos. And
Yeah.
so yeah, that founder time is where you get to say, who am I? What's important to me? What will I feel proud to accomplish this week? What do I want to make sure gets done? And maybe sometimes that founder time window is networking. It's like
Mhm.
scheduling connections with people that are important to you in your network.
Right.
But as long as you're having choice around it.
Right. It just makes me think that of the 4 million people leaving, their jobs
Mm.
every month, if they could adhere to a methodology like this, maybe so many people wouldn't be leaving their jobs.
Yeah, I wonder. And we know too with flexible work and yeah, all the change we've all been experiencing that we're all inquiring now, like, what have we learned from this time? What do we want to create moving forward? And I think health is just something top of mind for all of us as well. So how do we make sure that we build in? I know for me, if I don't block off time to exercise, usually in the morning, it just vanishes. I don't know where it goes, but I'm too tired at the end of the day.
Exactly. So,
Mhm.
Jenny, I know you have a lot of resources both in the book and on your website. Can you tell viewers a little bit about them and where they can find them?
Sure. Yeah. Well, the new book Susan mentioned is Free Time.
Yay!
And there's a toolkit, a free toolkit online. You can go to itsfreetime.com/toolkit and you'll get access to all those tons of tools and templates around these topics. And also, I have a podcast. If you search for Free Time with Jenny Blake, you'll find it, or you can type in pod.link/free time and you can subscribe wherever you listen.
And the book, it launches on March 22nd. Is that right?
Yes, March 22nd,
Yay!
2022. So just around the corner.
Okay.
And in fact, if you do pre-order a copy early, I'll leave the promo up even just maybe a few days after launch. But if you pre-order the hardcover, you can get 2 audiobooks free, one for yourself and one that you can gift to a friend.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So, is there anything about the book that I haven't asked you that you think viewers should know about?
Ooh, these are all such good questions. That I think people should know. Well, I I like to just part of looking for friction areas is looking for where am I the bottleneck? And that's another question that's always top of mind for me. So there's a section of the book that I say, are you ready for your big break or would your business break? And if you're not a business owner, this could apply to your life. Like, are you ready for the big thing, whatever that thing is that you're working toward? Are you ready for it to happen? Or if it did, would you get totally bombarded and overwhelmed? And so part of this question of this preparing for your big break and the flip side, where are you a bottleneck, is just looking, where are you in the way or where are things vulnerable to you stepping aside? I used to always ask, what if I get hit by a bus? But it's so violent to always imagine that I started to ask, what if I got whisked to Fiji for 3 weeks with no devices and no ability to give notice? Could my team seamlessly step in and do the work? And I call that the Fiji test. So where are you the bottleneck? Where are your operations vulnerable to you? You know, there's a saying that the most dangerous number in a business is one. Anywhere there's only one person or one way because it's more fragile. And the Fiji test is saying, could any of us, could anybody on the team, what if they needed to step away? Is your role documented well enough
Mm,
that anyone else could jump in? And what I like about that is that it takes some of the pressure off. You feel freer to take a day off or go on vacation or take a sabbatical when needed because you have operationalized things in such a way that you feel more confident someone else could step in and help out.
and that takes so much of the burden off you when you know your role has been documented and operationalized.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a great point. Well, Jenny, this has been an amazing conversation. I
Likewise.
thank you so much and best of luck with the book.
Thank you so much, Susan. I really appreciate it. And big thanks to everybody who's here listening and watching.